Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning. Welcome to the Handicappers Report, looking at the action for this Saturday, June 19th, Belmont Park and Churchill Downs. I'll take a look at Churchill a little bit later, and we are joined by Brian Nadeau. We'll take a look at Belmont Park for Saturday afternoon. Brian, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Seth. Good to hear from you again. Solid card at Belmont. We're kind of in that, as you know, that little bit of, I don't want to call it too much of a lull, but, the Belmont Stakes weekend is behind us, and I think we're all now eagerly awaiting Saratoga, which was the news was this week, I believe, right? 100% full go capacity. Let's have at it.
I have Pat McKenna coming up at the top of the hour.
Nice.
Taped an interview with him yesterday to update us on the situation up at Saratoga. Yeah, we're 100%. They've also added 3 new hospitality areas, and I had him talk a little bit about that. And I think they're home runs. The one that I'm going to be really interested in, and Pat's going to talk a little bit more about it later, so I don't really want to spill the beans, but they had a press release that also came out on this, so folks may have seen it already as well. But they're going to have tailgate at the turn. So you're going to be able to first turn, the clubhouse turn, people are not going to be able to drive up. There's going to be picnic tables and bedding areas and whatnot, and so you can kind of tailgate on the first turn. I think it's going to be a home run.
Yeah, I think that's probably not to speak to you for you to too much, but that's a little more of our speed than maybe a few of the others that they're implementing. I like it. Yeah, I read that press release the other day and kind of thumbed through it, and that instantly kind of stood out to me as, man, that's a pretty cool idea. Because as you know, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers know, there's a pretty spacious area over there. There's like the television stand sometimes when people come in from out of town, networks. I think NBC sometimes suits up over there. And it's a pretty expansive area. And say what you will about maybe NYRA and what they've done with Saratoga over the years. I do feel like they've been pretty innovative. They've still kept it that, the ancient kind of feel that is Saratoga and everybody loves about Saratoga, but they have done a pretty darn good job implementing some new spots and putting them in and offering maybe a little bit to everybody. So it'll be exciting to see how it shakes out.
I talk about just that with Pat, and I think a lot of people have that same opinion that you and I have. Folks that have been going to the track for years, and really over the past few years with the 1863 Club and the top of the stretch where they took some of those grandstand areas that were seldom used and redid that. They've done some great things, I think, and made more major changes than I remember ever having seen, but have kept kind of the history and the charm. And as I say, we talk a little bit about that with Pat later. Check that out, top of the show, top of the hour, Racing Across America at 10 o'clock. We'll also be joined live by Bob Ehalt, talk a little bit about some racing this weekend. And last weekend, he was down at Monmouth for the Pegasus with Mandaloon. I'll get your opinion. Mandaloon and the Pegasus. I thought on the turn he was going to cruise right by. He got off to the bad start, and that's tough at Monmouth. And so I thought, however, on the turn his class was going to show, and he was just going to cruise right by, and still looked like that at the top of the stretch. But then Wayburn gave him all he could ask for.
Yeah, I mean, it was the means to an end. It now will get him to the Haskell, and that was really all Brad Cox wanted. Mandaloon has been repeatedly kind of called a lazy horse. Sometimes he doesn't try as hard maybe as his connections would like. First start back off a grueling, Kentucky Derby where he was on the hard chase the entire way and laid it on the line there with Medina Spirit. So I thought it was fine, Seth. It's probably, he'll build off that. It's probably not an effort that would win the Haskell, but, you didn't expect to see an effort that would win the Haskell on what was it, June 12th. So now Brad's got the 4 weeks to tinker with him and tighten him up. And I'm sure it will be all systems go because don't forget, he has yet to win a grade 1 and that's a big deal for his connections and for the horse and for his value. So I would think that you will see the absolute best that Brad Cox can get Mandaloun going 9 furlongs, because the Travers probably is not a spot for Mandaloun, especially with essential quality in there and a deserving favorite. So Brad can kind of keep them apart and go Haskell, Pennsylvania Derby, maybe, or go from there after the Haskell. But I would think, Seth, you'll see a much tighter, sharper, honed in version of Mandaloun in the Haskell.
Yeah, he got the job done. It's going to be interesting to see next month what he does in the Haskell, certainly, because I've been a fan of his for a while. I'm still not going to get paid for that Derby ticket, but we'll see how it plays out. And I'll just touch on one more thing. People see us in the 3-box here. You mentioned there's a lull in American racing, but this week was Royal Ascot, which is one of the highest quality meets in the world, certainly. The 5 days of Royal Ascot starting Tuesday, ending today. We'll have all of Ascot. Race 1 there. Our time will go off at 9:30, so we'll have that in the midst of the show as well. But we have the 3-box, so you can see the lead up and whatnot at Royal Ascot for the opener. And then in the next hour, I have a couple of Royal Ascot races to plug into Racing Across America as well. Wesley Ward got his first victory this year yesterday on a DQ. I'll show that a little bit later on Racing Across America. I thought it was warranted. It's surprising over there, but the horse, the winner did float him out. It was a slim margin of victory. I thought the DQ was warranted over there with the winner that eventually Campanelli put up for Wesley Ward.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it was like 52-48 to me. I mean, I kind of thought maybe they would leave him up because I feel like the best horse won, and they do it in Europe. They do have, they.
I was surprised they did it over there.
What's that?
I was surprised they did it over there because it does seem very different than the way we do it.
Consideration over there, whereas here we don't do that. I kind of thought it was funny how Wesley Ward said, and even the British commentator said on TV, well, if it was in America, it would be cut and dried and there'd be a disqualification. I'm kind of thinking to myself, have you ever watched Belmont racing? I read Ortiz does that 7 times a day, and nothing ever happens. But, you can't argue with it, regardless of, if you thought it was or wasn't. It didn't break 1 ounce of sweat on me when they did disqualify the horse, because he did come over several passes. I don't think there's anything that my point was, Frankie Dettori never for 1 split single second stopped riding Campanelli, so that was like kind of what I had about it. But again, to me, it's 52-48. It doesn't shock me, and I won't argue with it for 1 second as a guy that didn't have a cent on it either.
And again, we'll show it a little bit later on Racing Across America, so folks can decide for themselves as well. Let's jump in now, and again, we'll take a break around 9:30 or so for the opener at Ascot. I'm going to look at Churchill a little bit later on. Brian's going to kick things off with the Saturday card at Belmont, which has 10 today, kicking off at about 1 o'clock. The opener, $30,000 conditional claim. Oh, before we get into it, I just wanted to once again tip my cap to you. Nice job again at Gulfstream last Friday and Saturday. Friday you sat in with Ashley. Saturday you were in with Ron. So nice job down there at Gulfstream again. Yeah,
I got to work with your guy Ron. On Friday I worked with Ron, and he was nothing short of tremendous. I joke, Ron and I, for kind of several years have been kind of ships in the night and haven't worked together, but we'll see him. I know you have him on a lot when he's up in Saratoga, and kind of just give the nod of the cap or say hi to him if I'm down at Gulfstream. What a guy, Seth, and we had a blast. We had a lot of fun. It was the first day too where the group was at Gulfstream. Dave Joseph, the media guy, and Ed Gray, the longtime turf writer. So I got to work with all those guys on Friday because everybody was up at Pimlico, when I filled in during Preakness weekend. So just to be a part of it and hang out, and Ron is holding court down at Gulfstream Park, so it was cool just to be a part of it. Really cool guy. We had a lot of fun, and I'd like to think we did an okay job too. So yeah hopefully. And then Ashley on Saturday, and she's great too. Really, really sharp. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Nice job again, and looking forward to Ron getting back up to Saratoga. His cousin's a small-time breeder up in Saratoga, so is usually up. Last season, obviously different for everybody, but hope to have Ron over live with us one morning this summer. All right, now let's jump into Belmont. That opener is a $30,000 conditional claimer. They're on the turf at 1.60 miles.
5428, and I'm not going to give any MTOs because I checked the weather. It looks pretty a heck of a day in Elmont, New York. So I just kind of wanted a fresh new face in here, Seth. Early pick 5-time as well, so amp up those capital OTB bet accounts. And Double Happiness is that. Now, Double Happiness hasn't been out since November of 2019, so obviously there's some issues here, but Belmont's been having a very, very strong year. He's a solid 16% off this very elongated layoff. And again, Double Happiness hasn't been seen in a while, but looked really good breaking her maiden when last seen. There are certainly no world beaters in here. Maybe you get a decent price off the layoff. And again, Belmont, 16%. Let's just go with someone we haven't seen in a while, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in this kind of cookie cutter 32L. Number 4, Giggle Factory, to me, is the horse to beat on the drop. Saez and Albertrani, these guys are a huge 24%. Tom Albertrani doesn't win a lot of races at a high percentage for sure. So to see him 24% with Luis Saez is very, very noteworthy. Dropping out of a 50 starter at Gulfstream was kind of middling 5th. And then number 2, Sengen Taket. Now, Danny Gargan, he's like 3 for his last 39, I think. So I don't want to get involved with this barn at an underlaid price. Another one dropping out of a 50 starter, but Danny claimed this one 3 back from Brad Cox and really hasn't moved this one up. And to see Danny, like I said, it's a pretty elongated streak now, a little cold. So I'm going to play against him. We'll go 5-4-2-8 in the opener, Seth.
5, I would assume there's some local owners involved. Dreammaker Racing, I believe that's Tom Gallo. So, like I said, I believe there's probably some locals involved with your top pick there. Always like to root for the locals. Second race at Belmont today. Allowance non-winners are 1 other than 8.5 furlongs.
3-6 over the 5, and I was shocked that Arham is not the morning line favorite and Yankee Division is a strong favorite because Arham beat him on the square 2 back. Now the turf dud last time is maybe why David Aragona went with Yankee Division as the favorite. But let's just draw a line through the turf race. And you look at Arham, he's only run 4 times. He's lightly raced. He's got a world of upside for Pletcher. And getting back to the dirt, getting back to an elongated 1 turn, which he got at Aqueduct when he beat Yankee Division. And he certainly looked good. He looks like he's got a lot of talent. So let's put him on top over Yankee Division, who just keeps his form. But Rudy Rodriguez, only 8% at Belmont. He's had a very kind of slow meet, 6 for 71, at least when I printed this out. So, yes, Yankee Division's been in good form, but they were at Aqueduct, hasn't been seen since April. And I'm just wondering if a barn that hasn't really been winning races, let's put him underneath. And then number 5, Dust Devil, Cantamesi. I like what this barn does. Joel Rosario on a finisher here. That's a good thing. Comes out of the first captain race. We know he's pretty good for West Point, so he can get a piece in here as well. Early pick 4-time. Let's go 3-6 over the 5, Seth. 1-sheet selections as always, and they'll be updated too.
Race number 3 at Belmont Park on Saturday. Optional claimer, $80,000 tags, non-winners of 2 other than. On the grass at 7 furlongs.
7-2 over the 4, maybe to steal your line. Maybe it's Master of the Obvious here, but Saratoga Affair got to the turf last time for Chad and really blew up. I know it just won by a neck, but you look at the figure, you look at the running line, decidedly, markedly better than anything she had ever done in 3 main track starts. It's Chad, it's Irad. Yes, we rise in class, but I like this outside post. It's going to be in the clear stalking. Not a lot in here either, Seth. And I think Saratoga Affair probably could run that race back and win. And if she improves in what's only her 2nd lifetime turf start, only her 5th lifetime start, she's going to be really tough to beat. Flower Point is favored, and I get it because, look at the turf comeback 2 back. It was very, very strong behind a better field in a stakes race. 2 next out winners, easily draw a line through the muddy race last time. So it's Shug, Joel. She'll be rolling late. She's going to spot a lot of tactical speed to the top pick, though, and I think that's worrisome at an underlaid price. And then number 4, Katama Moonlight for Sappy. There's speed here. Jose Ortiz will put this one on the lead. And if nobody runs with her early, she could be tough to reel in late. But I'll go 7-2 over the 4, Seth, in the 3rd.
Your top pick, Irad Ortiz, on board, and for the folks who may be watching us as weekend warriors that weren't necessarily tuned in this week, Irad came back on Thursday. I'd been on the sidelines for a couple of weeks. Scary spill a couple of weeks ago, but luckily it was just bumps and bruises. But he came back on Thursday, won with his second mount back. So he's back in form, and clearly you have to pay attention when Irad is on board, one of your runners, or one of the runners in the race, let me put it that way. And it may soon become your runner after you look at it that way. But the fourth at Belmont Park on Saturday afternoon. Starter allowance, 1.16 on the grass.
And this is the play of the day, 1 over the 6-2. And there's just no speed in here to run with ho, 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 ho for Tom Morley. I got to see this gal win on debut at Fairgrounds. She ran very well in 3 Fairground starts. And you look at her running line, Seth, and when she gets on the lead and she's allowed to get brave, she does it. And she's wired twice. She did it last time for 50. Now she's in a spot where Tom can't lose her. And you look at the others in here. Yeah, there's tactical speed with Summer in the City, who I think is the horse to beat. Certainly Ocean Air won't let him get too far away early either. But there's only one way to go with ho, 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 and that's to the front. And Dylan Davis will put her on the engine, and she's fast enough on figures to beat this field, class rise and all. And I hope she runs them into the ground. So she's the play of the day. Her 3 turf starts have been very, very good. And she owns a decided tactical edge on a turf course that's pretty hard and pretty firm. So let's put her on top as the play of the day. I mentioned Summer in the City for Todd Pletcher. She's fine. Second off the long layoff. She was an okay 4th at the level in her comeback last time. She should improve. Ocean Air down inside was second at that level last time. And I think she's a major player as well. But again, all of them will be chasing the 1. Ho, 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 ho. Hopefully down the road. 1 over the 6-2, play of the day in race 4.
Race number 5, plain vanilla, $12,500 claimers going 3/4 of a mile.
You know, this kicks off the pick 6 set, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but there's, I believe, a $62,000 carryover. You and I have talked about it. I love what they've done with this pick 6, made it $1 again. I think it'll be huge at Saratoga. I really do. I think on a Saratoga carryover, we're going to be talking about 100,000, 125,000. So I'm excited for that. It's traditional, but it's $1. So, you know, that you can still get in there and play a $96 ticket or so and have a decent chance. So point being, if you want to play today, I think you can single combination in the opener. I mean, just look at the form here. Now it's first time Rob Trask after some good races at Gulfstream for Ramirez, for Safi, Mike Maker, and this horse just kind of keeps on doing its thing. Perfect outside attack post. Rob Trask, 24% newcomers to the barn. And there is not much in here to stand in the way of combination. So, you know, you can be say, hey, well, why is this horse in for 12.5? Well, he's in for 12.5 because he's run 24 times. He's 5-year-old gelding. And, oh, by the way, they're running for $36,000, Seth. So that's a big number. That's a big pot. Claimed them 2 back for $62.50. And now it goes into Rob Trask's barn. There's a lot to like here. I put the old price underneath. You know, I like to do that. Number 7, Hooray for Harvey. 3rd off the claim for Arriaga, who does a pretty good job under the radar. Now goes to Arriaga. 2 starts for Abreu off the claim. Now goes to Arriaga. Solid enough, 13% with newcomers to the barn. So put this one underneath at what should be a square price. And then number 11, Strolling, more logical underneath for Orlando Noda, who keeps on keeping on. Solid 16% off the claim. Rosario's here. Took this one from Peter Miller, so it'll be tough to improve off him, but Strolling should get a piece of this. But combination, to me, singles this pick 6 to start at 9 over to 7, 11.
All right, why don't we take a break? I think we can take a break and maybe come back and do one more before they go at Ascot, because there's still 10 minutes to that post time. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and jump back into Belmont. But the first at Ascot coming up bottom of the hour, so stay tuned.
If the photo finishes too close to ball.
come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome to Albany County, an incredible destination to live, work, and play, with easy connections to more than a dozen cities from our vibrant modern airport. It's a short trip downtown to a hive of culture and amusement, from world-class shows at the newly renovated Times Union Center to reliving the past at the New York State Museum. From outdoor recreation to shopping to nightlife, Albany County has something for everyone. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report on this Saturday morning. Seth, Merrow, and Brian Nadeau. I'll have Churchill later. Belmont is in the sights right now. Brian's taking a look at that. And we're about 8 minutes away from the Saturday morning, our time, Saturday morning opener over at Royal Ascot. We'll have that as well. Sixth race, though, at Belmont, stakes action, New York Stallion Series stakes action. 7 furlongs the trip for the state-bred 3-year-old fillies, going 7 furlongs on the grass.
You know, Seth, I don't know if Ava's Grace is going to handle the turf, but if she is, she's probably going to lap this field. So I went with her. 10 over the 1-2. I can't really see her being 5-2. I mean, she was just second in the fantasy to Pauline's Pearl, who's okay for Steve Asmussen, and Stone Street. You just look through this group, and boy, they're pretty fortunate to be running for $1.50, right? I think it's a testament to the New York Breeders' program, because there's a lot of money on the line for a bunch of gals that aren't really, shouldn't be running for 150. So I think Robertino Diodoro's, putting this gal in the right spot. She gets to run as a Kentucky-bred daughter of Lauaban, who was a New York sire. So Ava's Grace, with that open company form, third in our Adirondack as a 2-year-old, second in the fantasy, and her dirt form lays over this field. So I'll put her on top, even though she is making her turf debut. Underneath, Show Me the Honey. It hasn't run since November. But again, when you're running for 150,000, Seth, you got to be cranked. And so I would think Michelle Nevin will have this gal cranked. And she's, only run in New York bred company once, and she won for fun on debut. And Michelle's not a debut trainer. So I think that's a good testament to the talent, and maybe she can fire fresh. And then number 2, Proper Grammar for Christophe Clement. Yes, she debuted for 40, but they snuck her by. She looked good winning, going away. Should be plenty of speed in here, Seth. So I want someone that can come from off a little bit. But I'll chalk out on top turf debut for Ava's Grace. She just looks too much for these. And I also say, Seth, you and I have talked about this too. I know I've talked about it with Anthony quite a bit too. Me personally, when you're turf sprinting over a firm, hard turf course, I'm not going to get too wrapped up in pedigree. You want to go up, a mile and an eighth, a mile and a 16th, 2 turns, a little bit different. But when you're all out going 7 or especially 6 or so, I'm not going to get too wrapped up in pedigree. I'll go with Ava's Grace, 10 over the 1-2 in the Stallion Series.
I said earlier we like to root for the locals, and I always like to root for Roddy. Roddy Valente has Shaker Shack in here, homebred for Roddy and the Balinskis, and turned out to be a nice little runner for them as well, trying the turf also. So rooting for that one in there again. In the 6th at Belmont, we move on to the 7th. $40,000 claimers going 1 mile and a 16th on the grass.
Late pick 4 time. That was the late pick 5 time in race 6. 5 over the 4-3, and attentive. Just kind of looks better than this group, Seth. The margin for error isn't necessarily a big one, but in the 2 starts off the maker claim, both on turf, by the way, he's just run better races than what he's meeting here. And he went from 25 to 50 last time. Was a good second for 50 last time, now dips for 40, but Mike claimed him for a quarter from Carl Broberg, so it's not like he's giving him away, and they're running for $66,000 here. So if he wins and gets claimed, it is a monster purse in claim price for Maker. So I think he can play a little poker in here, even though he's dropping a $50,000 horse that just ran really well last time. I just think he's a little better than this group. I'll go at Boru as a price underneath. Mike Maselli, we know how good he's been doing, probably about 3 years running now. He's 2 for 9 off the claim, so he doesn't do this a lot. But he snagged this one from Vladimir Sarin, who's had a solid Belmont meet. Took him for a quarter, now going to move him up for 40. The form, the figures, they fit with this group. They're just a little behind them, and if Mike moves them up, he's got a chance. So I think he's fair in here at a price, and then Clear Vision for Jeremiah O'Dwyer. Down inside for Javier is here. The layoff a concern.
Contender.
The fast drop probably makes sense. The lack of speed is a real worry. And I don't know, Seth. Javier doesn't seem to have it anymore. I thought he gave a terrible ride to a 2-year-old yesterday for Kelly Green at Belmont, where he's just not finishing in his races. And that worries me on a horse like Clear Vision, who's going to be coming late. So I'm going to use him underneath. 5 over the 4-3. I think this could be another single in the pick 6 set if you want to try it on a budget.
All right, they are getting closer. It looks like they're bouncing around behind the gate at Royal Ascot. And so I'll just take a look at this opener here. It's the Chesham for 2-year-olds. And the favorite right now is the number 4, Point Lonsdale. That one goes out for Aidan O'Brien off a win in the career debut at the Curragh the beginning of this month. So makes sense. But this is a race that I think has some potential for an upset. You know, do you want 3 to 5 in a race where a number of the other ones look like they are just as good potentially? You know, I think the 3 to 5 may be leaning on the connections of Aidan Bryan and Ryan Moore, and I am not going to argue with that. But there's a few horses who either were close-up seconds or winners in their debuts as well. So if I was playing around this race, I'd take a little pop with a price perhaps.
Well, I think the thing with Point Lonsdale is, I mean, he was bet to favoritism on debut at 8 to 5 in an 11-horse field, and he won off by 5.5 lengths, and he did it over soft ground, Seth. So I think that's probably what people are really looking at. You mentioned, obviously, the connections, O'Brien, Ryan Moore, Coolmore, but then you see he won by 5.5 at the Curragh over soft ground. And I'm sure you saw yesterday, and all of our, astute watchers on the network, they almost canceled yesterday, which I've never heard of before. But they had a meeting between officials, jockeys, trainers. Are we running or are we pushing it back? And obviously they ended up running. Seth, this is always cool. Anthony and I talk about this. You look at number 5, Reach for the Moon, and I love when it just says the breeder, the queen, owner, the queen. I think that's so cool that when she has one of her runners and all it says is the queen. That's awesome.
Yeah, very good. And that one is actually just behind the gate. I think the queen's horse will be the last to load, it looks like. So they're about to kick things off on this final day of the 2021 Royal Ascot meet. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Handicappers Report after the race.
Withering was a little bit slow, sweeping very quickly into stride and leads early. Point Lonsdale, the hot favourite in the purple and white, just following sweeping. Over on the far side, Frankie Dettori on Reach for the Moon is over there with Masakela and Sheen Murphy, the dark blue sleeves and cap. Just this near side is Sharp Combo, followed by Radio Caroline. Out in Yorkshire, Great Max, the violet jacket, towards the back with Withering. So Reach for the Moon, there's a pair of them just towards the far side. Reach for the Moon being followed by Masakela, the main body of runners up the centre of the course. Holly Doyle and Sweeping with New Science, the all blue of Godolphin, as the field run towards halfway in the Chesham and running down towards the 3. Reach for the Moon over on the left. Point Lonsdale, the big white face in the centre in company with Withering, making a little bit of progress. New Science, Sweeping still there, the yellow and blue this near side, followed by Great Max trying to pick up, then out in Yorkshire as they run towards the 2. Reach for the Moon being challenged by New Science. Point Lonsdale is being asked some questions. Sweeping and Holly Doyle the near side. They head towards the final furlong in the Chesham. Reach for the Moon the far side in company now with Point Lonsdale getting warmer all the time. Sweeping the near side. Point Lonsdale is attacking Reach for the Moon. Reach for the Moon finds a bit more on the far side. Reach for the Moon and Point Lonsdale just drifting left. They run inside the final 50 yards. Reach for the Moon and Frankie Dettori, but Ryan Moore getting up on Point Lonsdale is very close. Point Lonsdale drifting left near side. Point Lonsdale from Reach for the Moon away from sweeping in the next position ahead of Great Max.
Well, favorite gets it done, but had to work to get past the Queen.
Like a 3 to 5 should, right, Seth?
It was definitely a nail biter, but it played out, I'm sure, well for the folks over there, as they say, with the Queen. I was saying to you as they were coming down, I thought, oh, Queen's horse is going to get past? No, yes, no, no. And then right at the wire, the favorite gets by. Nice way to kick off the final day of the 2021 Royal Ascot meet. Very nice race, just from a perspective of coming right down to the wire, and the Queen's horse being in the mix. All right, let's jump back in. Belmont on Saturday afternoon. We'll kick things back off. Race number 8, another starter allowance. A mile is the trip.
Yeah, Belmont put together a pretty strong card today. We've got a couple stakes, but these intermediate kind of races are pretty strong. And I've talked about that pick 6 carryover. This is a spread to me. It's a tough one. 3, 6, 10, 2, 5. Joycey has pizzazz. I thought ran really, really well off the claim for Ed Delaro, winning like a good thing last time for a quarter. Now he bumps him up in a spot where he can't lose him. You have to like that. Should be a decent price. Rosario aboard for Saez, who lands, or I guess sticks with risk profile. And so I think Joycey has pizzazz from a stalking position in a race with some speed. You look to the outside, there's a lot of speed in here, can get first run and is going to probably in theory have to improve, Seth, but if he runs that race back, he also might win. Weaver claimed risk profile from Chad and Seth Klarman, and he blew up last time. What a good job by George. Claims him for 40, gets a maiden special weight in for 90 with a huge figure. He runs off the screen, but now he's facing winners. Now he's the hunter, the hunted, not the hunter. There's speed to both sides of him, and I just wonder if he regresses a little bit. George ran him back real quick, so the old still under the program kind of angle. So I'm a little against risk profile. I put him in second. My first Grammy for Barrera in third, can get a piece of this closing late. But I'm taking a shot with Joycey has pizzazz. I really liked that run last time, and I don't think he's got to better it that much in a race that could be there for the taking, especially if risk profile doesn't fire, Seth. 3, 6, 10, 2, 5.
More New York Stallion Series stakes action in race number 9. These are 3-year-olds sprinting 7 furlongs on the grass. New York sired runners.
I can't get 8 to 1 on Ocala Dream, can I? David Aragona, I think, does a very, very good job on the morning line. I thought maybe this one was maybe a little bit of a miss. 4-2-13. And Ocala Dream has been moving forward for Tom Morley, and the light bulb finally went on last time. He had threatened 2 back, and last time he blows the doors off with an 83 buyer, runs off late. That's the biggest code number with Step Dancer, highest last out. And he kind of, to me, just looks like he's on the improve, and he might be going places. I like the job Tom Morley's done. I got to see this barn really kind of up close and personal in New Orleans this winter, and I thought Tom did a very, very good job, especially on the grass. And Ocala Dream, going to save some ground, has tactical speed. To me, he looks like he's about 4 to 1 in here. It's a solid group. It's not spectacular by any means. So Ocala Dream to double up for me. Dancing back, another one. Got to the turf last time. Got back to the turf, I should say, for Michelle Nevin. Now, added a Lasix that day, and the Lasix comes off. And, you look at this horse's 4 races. 3 of them were kind of okay without Lasix. Lasix went on last time, and he blew way up too. So I'm a little suspect of that. We've heard, I've talked about this before. Lasix comes off today. Let's prove it. But I think from down inside on the stretch out, he's got a big chance. And certainly Step Dancer is one of the ones in here, Seth. But the post is problematic. He's 3-1, which is surprising. Maybe he's favored, but he shouldn't be 3-1 where Ocala Dream's 8-1. And he added Lasix last time too, and woke way up. And some of the non-Lasix races haven't been as good. So I put him underneath from a bad draw, 4-2-13 in the brother division of the earlier Stallions series.
Yeah, interesting, because obviously I've handicapped also for the show later on, and I also have 4-2-13. So I'm wondering if even your anticipated 4-1 is. It's all going to come down to if people believe the buyer, and I kind of feel it is believable. Fourth career start on a series of improving buyers, but more importantly, the second start this season, which maybe indicates this horse has just come back improved. So I'm willing to buy it, but that's going to be what it's going to come down to. Does the betting public buy it?
I think, Seth, that we've talked a lot about the morning line and making a morning line. I firmly believe, regardless if you love, hate, or are indifferent to the buyers, you should be using them when you make a morning line, because 90% of the betting public, especially the casual fan, is going to be looking at them. And a morning line, for better or worse, is one guy's opinion of how the public is going to bet, and they have a direct impact on that. So I really do firmly believe that they should be looking at the morning line, or the buyers, when putting the morning line together.
Yeah, they have become such an important tool for the betting public in general. You see it reflected clearly on the tote board. 10th and final at Belmont today goes off about 5:45 in the PM. State-bred maiden claimers going 3/4 of a mile.
7-1-12-6. I have no idea if Tootsie's Song can run an inch, but if she can, it's got to make her pretty good in this field, because, Seth, there is nothing in here to be scared of. It's George Weaver. He reaches for a Joel Rosario. There's plenty of works on display. He's a decent enough 12% with firsters. He's 2 for 9 with Rosario. If this horse has any kind of talent, she's got to hit hard in here, because there's no one in here she's supposed to be scared of. So we'll wrap it up at Belmont, 7-1-12-6.
Sounds good. Let's take our next break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention to Churchill. And again, throughout the morning, we're going to be dropping in the Royal Ascot races. The next one scheduled to come up at 5 after 10. So once we turn over to Racing Across America, we'll have race number 2 from Royal Ascot today. But when we come back, Churchill Downs on Saturday. Stay tuned.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotb.com.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the Capital Region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Brian and Seth with you. Before the break, we got through 10 at Belmont. We snuck one in at the Royal Meeting Ascot as well, and maybe a horse, Seth, to remember the name, for Aiden O'Brien and the Coolmore, excuse me, Coolmore Connections winning the opener. I should give you the name if I'm going to talk about.
What was it, the Point Lonsdale, right?
Thank you, Point Lonsdale. So good-looking son of Australia, 2 for 2 now. So we'll see what happens over there, and a good card there. Again, a Group 1 coming up, and as Seth said, we'll get back to race 2 a little bit after 10:05. But the opener here at Churchill, we've got 11 at Churchill today, Seth. A big one. They're starting to wind down there. A mile and 3/16 in the opener. Maiden special weight on the main track. You don't see that too much. 12:45 first post, kicking off that early pick 5.
4, 6, 7, and 1 for me. I put full charge on top Jack Sisterson and Calumet off a series of improving numbers over the first 3 starts. Last couple were at 2 turns, so I don't think this distance is going to be any kind of an obstacle. You know, it's a little stretch out, but should be fine. Comes in off a bullet workout over at Keeneland to show that the horse is still on his toes, so I will tilt in that direction. Candy Ride, the sire of Derby House, a win early type sire, maybe not necessarily win early at a mile and 3/16, but I just thought the scenario was nice with this horse. Solid numbers, comparatively speaking, in the first couple of starts, and then last time tried the turf. It was a failed experiment, but I think the turf to dirt move might provide a little bit of a wake up and a rebound. Marvelous Moon Dance in the 3rd spot. This one, last 2 starts have been on turf, claimed 2 starts back, and the follow-up was a pretty good close-up second. Now move back to dirt, but the dirt race 3 back was okay. This one also, maybe a little bit of a wake-up kind of a scenario with that turf to dirt move, which occasionally does prove productive for horses, but off the last couple of starts, seems kind of logical in here. Does move into a tougher maiden special weight, but I thought that first off the claim race warranted the move. So in the opener at Churchill, 4, 6, 7, and 1.
I got the Royal Ascot coverage on, next to us, and I just look over and I just see the Queen doing her thing over there. I think she's like 96 years old, isn't she? And she's just hanging out in the paddock, watching her.
Yeah, if you read
What's
every
that?
year at this time, Royal Ascot, if you read, there's a bunch of articles that she is completely into horse racing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I think she's like 95, 96 years old, and she's just doing her thing. That's so awesome to see. Race 2, early pick 4 time here at the Downs. It's a 1X for $102,000. Fillies and Mares 3 and up. We go 6.5 back on the main.
5, 6, 3, and 1 for me. Love me some me on top. Couple of starts so far, a couple of nice starts at Keeneland. The Keeneland start wasn't much, but it was a good start to build on. And then broke the maiden in the second start on the move back over to Churchill. So I just like this scenario, and the maiden breaker was good enough to recommend the horse on top. Second slot, Congratulated. Another one of those making a turf to dirt move. But again, the last race seems like a turf experiment. Showed some speed before fading. Faded badly, but the race right before that on dirt was good enough. So I think the return to dirt's going to be beneficial. Break curfew, 24 starts in the career and only a couple of wins, but certainly is in good form looking at the last few starts and probably belongs with this bunch. I wasn't sure what to do with the number 1, Lexingtonia. I wouldn't argue anybody off of that horse. 4 starts so far, but a layoff of all of last year. The 2 starts so far this year are okay, but that bullet workout, 46 and change on June 7th down at Keeneland, it indicates, I think, that the horse is going to be well meant this afternoon. So again, I had Lexingtonia down in the 4th slot, but I may regret that. I have it in the second, 5, 6, 3, and 1.
And the Queen's got a couple coming up in the next race at the Jersey. So when you guys show that, she's got the 16 and the 18. So she's going right back at it to try to get one. The third here is a maiden special weight, Fillies and Mares on the turf, sprinting a snappy 5.5.
I'm going to take a little shot in here. I wrote next to the horse, why not? 6, 5, 8, and 2. Firster Shania. By Spicer, who I think is a good sire of win early types. This horse has some winning siblings, but not necessarily win early, and I like that. I like win early siblings more than this scenario, but boy, the workouts are just really good. And again, there's a little breeding here. Trainer's a little bit of an unknown, but there wasn't anything else in the race that was really jumping out at me. So I thought, like I say, why not at a price with a little bit of win early breeding? I'll tilt towards Shania at 12-1 on the morning line. Second spot, Be Like Water. The two best numbers are a turf race and an off-the-turf race. Either of those numbers, though, are probably good enough in this field. It's just, will we get that given the scenario? You know, the turf race obviously is a question mark at a mile last time. The off-the-turf race, was on the main track, so obviously there's some question marks there. But, again, that turf race last time with the big number, and that the number was kind of validated with the off-the-turfer. But this is also a cutback. So it all adds up. There are question marks about the horse that, to me, looks like probably the one to beat. But certainly can't ignore Be Like Water. Third spot, I have Stone Town for Belmont. The two turf races, number-wise, were okay and matched with this group. I mean, they don't stand out by any means. But again, they match up with this group, and the horse has shown some speed, so maybe the cutback will be okay. But we all know cutbacks on the turf aren't quite as potent as cutbacks on the dirt. So again, there were some question marks on horses with experience that seemed slightly logical, which allowed me to maybe take a pop on a horse that, as I say, maybe has a little bit of win early breeding and some nice workouts coming into it. So in the third at Churchill, 6-5, 8 and 2.
The fourth brings us a middle pick 5, and I love when they do this on these big, 10, 11 race cards. They sneak in a pick 5. So we've got one starting again here. It's a $100,000 maiden claimer. We sprint 5 here for 2-year-olds, and just kind of thumbing through this field set, seeing if anybody's maybe playing a little poker. Do you want to claim for 100? That's a big number. They're running for 56,000. So it's not like a real maiden special weight. But Seth, I always think these huge price maiden claimers are probably a little closer than they are far to a maiden special weight.
I would agree completely, because you are really rolling the dice, putting up that 100,000 in here unless you got a good feeling, or you're peeking through the fence in the morning and see somebody, as you say, trying to play a little poker perhaps. But otherwise, yeah, it's probably unlikely anybody's walking away with the tag at the end of the race. I went 6-4, 1 and 10, Moondial on top. Maybe a little bit of breeding, although looking up the dam, the lone sibling to start was 10th in only one career start. But boy, the workouts really jump out. And sometimes just if you go and circle workouts for 2-year-olds, and there's one that does stand out, sometimes that's the direction you have to go. And Mark Casse has this horse. He can have him ready. So I'll tilt towards Moondial. Versatile by Violence. I like Violence as a sire of win early types. Ian Wilkes can get it done, not known for it. But again, with that sire on top, I'll put that one in the mix. And Tommy Amos has Better Tone. And man, he's having a good meet. He can have firsters ready. Steady string of workouts. They don't jump off the page, but it's a nice steady string of workouts. A little bit of breeding that's okay. So I'll use the Tommy Amos horse in the mix as well, given, as I say, just a great meet he's having. Fourth at Churchill, 6-4, 1 and 10.
Another pick 4 here in the 5th. So take note of that. 2:45 in the PM. It's a $20,000 maiden claimer. This one for 3 and up, we go 6 on the main track.
4, 8, 3, and 6, sometimes always on top. I like this claim back into the Joe Sharp barn for the same owner. You always have to like that because they know what the horse is, and so they're looking. They see the horse jumping in, dropping in for a claim. They claim the horse back. I think class-wise is going to fit nicely. Makes a turf to dirt move, a cutback. I think it's all shaping up that this horse could be very live this afternoon. Sometimes always on top. Grendel in the second spot for Steve Asmussen. Maiden special weight to maiden claiming. Neither start was much, but has shown a little punch early in both of them. The turf to dirt move, the drop down the class ladder, and pretty significant drop from maiden specials into the 20 level. I think Grendel will move up today. Knievel, first-time starter by Daredevil. Maybe a little bit of life here for a fresh face in a field that maybe is calling out for that type of horse. So in the 5th at Churchill, 4, 8, 3, and 6.
All right, Derby City 6 time in race 6. I'm not sure where their carryover is, but if you're not familiar with this one, it is by far the best jackpot bet there is because they give back 90% of the wagering goes back to the winners, only 10% to the carryover. So take a look at it. It's a 20-cent base bet. We're on the turf here, 3 and up. It's a starter allowance.
You know, I was thinking about this yesterday for one reason or the other. And I wonder if you have a theory, because I have never over the years really come up with a theory. Pick six wagering is so regional. For years there was the traditional pick six, which only really played in New York and California. Other tracks tried it, but it was never as popular. Now the jackpot bets, I think this one at Churchill has some oomph. Clearly, the major player is Gulfstream. Other tracks try the jackpot bets, and they're, you know, okay, but nothing like Gulfstream. And as I say, the Churchill one does a little bit as well. But it didn't fly in New York necessarily. It was okay in New York, but didn't. But the pick six just seems so regional. And as they say, I've never quite figured out why.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it is a phenomenon down here at Gulfstream. Maybe it's because they beat everybody to the pot and they were first. Typically, the horizontals in Kentucky have not been really well received, but I feel like over the last 5 or 7, 10 years, they've taken off a little bit. And Churchill has definitely carved out a niche with this Derby City 6 that they've got. And Joe and the group, they always show the graphics, Seth. I'm sure you've seen it, of like what it paid the day before. And you look at it and you're like, how is that possible? It'll pay $2,000 and like the longest shot was like, you know, $9.40. Well, it's possible because they're giving back 90% of the pool. So, you know, my buddy, good buddy Wayne and I, we talk all the time. It's like, that's the bet we should be playing every day because it gives back the most to the player. You know, Pimlico, I think, is up over $1 million, right? So it's just so in vogue, these jackpots. And I guess people like chasing, you know, no pun intended, the pot at the end of the rainbow. But, you know, you read between the lines a little bit, and they're not really as good as you might think they are with the implied takeout. And again, that's another reason why this Churchill bet is phenomenal at giving back 90% of the pool to the player. Yeah,
and you mentioned the one at Pimlico, you know, sister track to Gulfstream. They've done okay as well. But like I say, a lot of venues have tried these jackpot bets, and they just haven't quite taken off. They're okay, but they haven't quite taken off. And it's just been funny over the years with the pick six, the traditional and this jackpot. In the 6 today at Churchill, 6, 5, 11, and 10. Chantry Flats on top, one nicely 2 back, a $40,000 conditional race, bounced up to this level last time, in a good second, so just in very good form. The numbers this horse is firing match up really nicely with this group. I won't say this horse is a standout by any means, because I think I can point to 2 or 3 others that have similar opportunities, and one of those is Handy, who was a close-up third in a similar event last time after having won a conditional claim or 2 back. So really a very similar scenario between the top 2 picks here. I kind of could have flip-flopped them either way, but I went 6 over the 5 over Kadri, the number 11 horse, 15-1 for a horse that is untried on turf, but I just thought could be interesting. Second off the claim, so they're doing a little bit of an experiment. This is more of a sprinter. Sometimes, depending on how the race plays out, these kind can get to the point where it becomes a sprint to the wire, and they have a little bit of an edge, perhaps. So at 15-1, I wouldn't mind playing around a little bit with Kadri, but I have it in the 6 at Churchill, 6, 5, 11, and 10.
All right, late pick 5 time now here at Churchill. This is a good one. 3-year-olds, it's an optional claimer. 100 is the tag, going 7 on the main track.
This was a really nice race. There's a lot of stakes quality performers in here. I went 7, 5, 4, and 6. Cazadero. I've liked him right along. The first couple starts of the career were here at Churchill last year to break the maiden in May, followed up in the Bashford Manor with a win. So it was 2 for 2 early in the career for Steve Asmussen and Stone Street, and then went up to Saratoga and lost to barnmate Jackie's Warrior in the Saratoga Special. Then laid off quite a while, came back in the Gazebo, ran 4th at Oaklawn. The Bachelor, however, improved to run 2nd behind the nice West Point runner Jackson Traveler. And last time in an optional claimer. Similar event to today, just missed running second. I'm going to give this one another shot. I think this is a talented runner who just may be rounding into some good career form right now. Cazadero on top, up striker in the second spot. Started the career with some early promise, and that kind of faded in the last start of the 2-year-old season, but the 3-year-old season seems a little bit promising off the first 2 starts, including the nice buyer number win last time down at Oaklawn for Ron McKett. And sitting on go goes out for Dale Romans. Steady diet of stakes races leading into this, and just on that, maybe on the class move back outside of stakes races for Dale Romans, sitting on go. Maybe an interesting play in here. 7th at Churchill, 7, 5, 4, and 6.
All right, race 8, late pick 4 time, 3 and up. It's a $50,000 2L, 6.5 on the main.
5, 4, 8, and 11. Acer on top for Mike Maker. Started the career in the barn of Chad Brown. But for Mike Maker over the past few starts has been running decently, certainly number-wise as compared to this group. And then you toss in the last race, which was at this conditional claiming level, dropped in for a tag last time, ran a decent second. And off of that race last time, I tilted slightly towards Acer on top. Top Gunner in the second slot. First time gelding symbol. Claim 3 starts back. They went and started allowance races in the 2 starts off the claim. They dropped back in for the tag this afternoon. And I think that could be key in here, getting back into kind of the comfort zone. And then in the 3rd slot, Pirate Rick moves into a new barn, moves into the Dale Romans barn. I think, you look at the numbers this horse typically fires or has fired most of the starts in the career. They match up pretty nicely with the group in here. In the new barn, maybe we rebound to one of those better numbers, a little turf to dirt move as well. So 8th to Churchill, 5, 4, 8, and 11.
Seth, I should have mentioned it at the start. I don't know if you saw, but my guy, Horse Racing KK, sent out a picture of what could be coming to Louisville today. There's some weather in the area, so make sure you just pay attention to the scratches, and if the weather is everybody at home firing away, if it's going to be an issue, because it looked like it could be one of those summer storms in Louisville. And the reason I mention it now is that we're back on the turf in the 9th, and it's an optional claimer, and hopefully we are on the turf. It's a really good race. Fillies and Mares 3 and up, 1 mile and an 1/8 optional claimer, last pick 3 of the day.
Yeah, and I wasn't mentioning dirt picks, but people can go to the website, pull up the sheet. The dirt picks are the dirt alternatives are there. In this race, should it go to the dirt, 14, 6 in the 1A, but on the turf, 11, 7, 9, and 12. Empress Eleanor on top. Lightly raced 4-year-old and only a couple of starts this year. They've been 2 nice starts, a non-winner, so 1 win, and then a close-up second in a similar non-winners of 2 last time. Should have the horse kind of primed for a good effort this afternoon. Enjoy it while we can in the second slot. Another one that won 2 back and ran a good race last time in a similar event. So like the top pick, it's just set up to run a good, perhaps better race today off of the last couple. And Waitez in the 3rd slot. Number-wise fits with this bunch. This is a horse that has been a stakes performer at various points in the career, and I think fits nicely with this group. Tried this type last time and was behind a couple others in here. I think the horse may be better than we saw last time, though. I'm going to give that one more shot in here at perhaps a little bit of a price off what we saw in the last 2. In the 9th at Churchill, 11, 7, 9, and 12.
All right, race 10 is the featured Roxalana. She was a really good sprinter back in the day, probably back when I was breaking into racing, maybe 25 years ago or so. Fillies and Mares 3 and up. We go 6.5, and Sconson is in here. You had Greg Foley on, right? And we hope that Sconson will get through this, and we'll see you up here in Saratoga for the Ballerina, right?
Yeah, that's the game plan. Had Greg on a couple of weeks back, had a fun conversation with him, and I know you're familiar with him from the winter down at the fairgrounds. And yeah, we talked a little bit about Sconson, who had put in the nice win in the winning colors, and I whispered and said, hey, we got a nice race up here. He said, I know, that's the game plan. We're going to get in the Roxalana down at Churchill, and then hopefully head up for that grade 1 up at Saratoga. So I think in prep for the grade 1, Wisconsin looks pretty good today off of that win in the winning colors, beating the very talented Franks Roquette that day. So I'll put Wisconsin on top. Second slot, Bell's the 1. This is a nice stakes quality performer. First couple of starts this year, the Madison was pretty good. Been a good close-up second. Disappointed last time in the Derby City Distaff, but I think this horse is better maybe than we saw last time, and we can expect something closer to the first start of the year. And Four Graces, also a little bit interesting. Tossed in a clunker to end the season last year, but now comes back as a lately raced and newly turned 4-year-old, which always brings the opportunity as well for maybe a little improvement in maturity off the layoff. So I wouldn't ignore Four Graces either. In the 10th, the Roxelana, 5, 4, 3, and 2.
We'll wrap it up at 5:58 in the PM Maiden Special Weight. Back on the turf, 5.5 fillies and mares, 3 and up.
I have it 1, 6, 10, and 8. If it's on the dirt, I stayed with the same horses because there was nothing jumping, no alternatives that jumped out. And in fact, Miner's Queen is more dirt than turf. The turf race to start the career wasn't much, but I kind of trusted Steve Asmussen to be making this move to the turf and kind of know what he's got and what we're going to get today on the grass. Miner's Queen on top. Also, more dirt than turf is Music At, but again, we'll trust the trainer to be making the right move. Lots of early speed last time before getting caught. Could be interesting in here today with some speed. And then Fayette Blue. This horse is more turf than dirt, but has shown some speed going a little bit longer. Could be interesting this afternoon. In the 11th and final at Churchill, 1, 6, 10, and 8. All of which brings us to the end of this edition of the Handicappers Report. Seth, Merrow, and Brian Nadeau. Again, you can find the selections on the website as well. Click on the Handicappers Report link. Always a nice printable sheet. Brian, as always, appreciate the visit. And, of course, we will talk again next week.
Seth, if I didn't know any better, I'd say we know what we're doing a little bit here. At 10:03, we've got the perfect segue to the second at Royal Ascot and a little racing across America coming up after that. So always a pleasure, and we will catch up again next week.
Sounds good. Brian Nadeau, again, taking a look at Belmont. I took a look at Churchill, and you can find those selections, as I say, on the website. Just as we wrap up, I will tout that don't forget today you can come down to the Racebook and play the Pick and Putt promotion in honor of U.S. Open weekend. Put your name in the hat if you come down. Folks randomly selected throughout the afternoon to step up to our little putting green. You sink a putt, you win some dough. I went out and did a couple of I did 3 practice putts yesterday. I saw 2 for $20. I'm an employee. I don't get the $20, but that just shows you it is not impossible to sink the putts for some dough. So come on down today and tomorrow. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And also today there's a $100 online win-a-bet contest. So we will wrap it up for the Handicappers Report. Stay tuned, however. Top of the hour, we'll be back with Racing Across America. And I'm just checking. We actually have 2 minutes to Royal Ascot, so I'll just tell the guys in the control room, throw it to Royal Ascot. We'll watch the race, and after the race, we'll fire up Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.